Hello and welcome to today's Bitrix24 webinar Total Telephony. Thank you for joining today. Okay, so who are we? My name is Sam Connor, sales engineer here at Bitrix24 Gold Partners Interface. And we're based in the UK, in the US and Hong Kong. And what we do is we offer a full range of services to help you with Bitrix24. So starting off with, we offer pre-sales support. So if you're new to Bitrix, if you come to the webinar today to find out more about the system, we can offer free consultation to discuss your requirements with you and see if Bitrix24 would be a good fit for your business. If it is, then we can provide our implementation service so we can set up the system for you and we can build any integrations or customizations that you require for your system. If you're looking at the self-hosted edition, we offer our own hosting services and we provide bespoke training and ongoing dedicated support to really help you get the most out of Bitrix24. Okay, so it's important to understand what is Bitrix24. So it is a collaboration suite of well in excess now of 35 different tools that you can use to manage your business. And specifically in today's Total Telephony webinar, we're going to be looking at the telephony features that we can use within the Bitrix24 system, and we'll see how those integrate with lots of different areas of the system, including the CRM and all of our contact data information. In terms of the number of users, there are over 9 million Bitrix24 customers using the system around the world. And the system is available in two different editions. So we've got the Bitrix24 Cloud and the self-hosted solution. And prices start from $49 for the basic cloud package and $2,990 for the self-hosted business edition. Okay, so we're today looking at total telephony. So first of all, it's important to understand why you should use the Bitrix24 telephony system. So first of all, Bitrix comes with a built-in phone system. So it's very easy to initially set up out of the box. You don't need to have a lot of technical support through the integrations. It's not going to take a long time to set up in the system. We can integrate with existing PBXs, so if you want to keep your existing number, it is possible to actually integrate those numbers into Bitrix24. We also have the integration with the CRM system, and this is a really powerful area of the telephony features. So when our customers call into the system, they can be routed to the responsible person. We can see their contact details directly in our Bitrix system when they call. We'll have a look at some of those features. There's also a lot of reporting available through lists of data that we have on our lists, and we also have the ability to build our own reports in this statistics page. So we'll have a look at that as well. And it's important to remember as well, we actually have low setup costs for telephony. So we're going to look at the different options, but you can rent a number from as little as $4 per month, and you're then ready to use the telephony features within Bitrix24. It's important as well to understand the different types of telephony integrations that you can do. So first of all, we have Bitrix Telephony. And Bitrix Telephony is where you rent a number from Bitrix24. The other option is to integrate, and that's either through the SIP connector to feed your numbers into the system, or integrating with one of our third-party applications that Bitrix already has an integration with a selection of phone providers. So there's two different features there for integration. So the first one we're going to look at today is the Bitrix24 telephony. So we're going to have a look now at how we can set up our numbers, and we're going to see how we can use our virtual phone system. So it's really simple once you've set that number to actually configure the routing, the recording, the office hours for that particular number. and we're going to look as well at how this integrates with the CRM system and the soft phone app. Okay, so let's now go into our Bitrix24 system. Okay, and first of all, to actually get to the telephony page on the left-hand menu, we can see here we have the telephony module. So that's where you want to go to be able to access the telephony module. And the first type of integration we're going to look at here is the Bitrix24 telephony feature. So inside here, you can see the different options we have for telephony. And the option we're going to look at here is the renting of a Bitrix24 number. So first of all, what we can do in the system here is we can choose the country that we want to rent this number for. So for example, if I'm going to choose the USA, then I can choose the type of number. So maybe I want to have a toll-free number, for example. I can choose the category. Or if I want to choose maybe a local number, then I can choose, for example, the UK. I can choose the type again, and then I can choose my region. And you can see that's going to cost me around $6 now per month to rent that number. Now, just as a word of warning, if you are renting from specific countries in the list here, you do need to make sure on a selection of those countries that you have access to be able to rent for that particular number. So for example, I know, for example, if in, let's go for Germany, I believe. You can see here, if we're going to rent this number, then we have to choose and select and upload a valid postal address for that location. So if you fail to provide that valid address in a documentation, then the potential to disconnect that number could take place. So just be careful if you are renting numbers here. But once you have selected your number from there, it will then get added into your number section. So we have a number here. We're paying $6 per month for this number. And inbound calls are included in that monthly rental cost. What you do on outbound calls is you will pay per minute based on the geographical location that you are calling to. And we can see those costs in here. So you're going to be charged per minute based on the country you are calling to. So I'll just add this into the chat box for you all. And if you do have any questions as we're going through the webinar today, please do add them into the chat box and we can run through those. Okay, so I've just added that into the group chat. So that's how we can rent a number. It's that simple. And once you have done this, you need to top up your balance. So you need to add telephony credits into the system. So you can then make those outbound calls. So you need to have a balance on the system. And once you have your balance, then what we can do is now start to configure our virtual phone system. So you can have as many rented numbers in here as you like. Right now we have one number. If you rent more than one number, they would all show in this grid. And what I can now do is I can configure the settings for each number I have in the system. Okay, so first of all, on this number, we can set up the inbound call routing process. So if we want to forward to a mobile, if it's not been processed internally, or we could ask a customer to leave a voicemail message. You can also set up IVR menus. So this is really useful. So you can actually enable the customer to route the call for where they would want to speak to. So for example, inside here, based on these buttons, we're going to have option 1 is to speak with Max Smith. So that's going to forward the call to Max. Or option 2 is going to be forwarded to the sales team. So that means that call, if they select option 2, is going to go to this group of our sales department. And what you can do is you can add your text into here. So this would be the text that gets spoken to the caller. And you can customize the language, the speed, and the volume that call is relayed to your customer. Or you can also upload your own audio file instead. So that's how we can set up our voice menu. We can integrate with the CRM system. So if a new number calls into the system, we could, for example, automatically create a brand new lead in the system. And we can have those calls recorded as well. So this is really useful for a lot of customers. You want to have that call history recorded in the system. Then what you can do is have that call saved in the CRM system and in the reporting area. And what we could also do is play a warning message to the customer on those inbound calls to let them know. You can also set up working hours. So if you've got specific office hours, then you can set up when calls can be handled. And out of hours, you might want to set up a particular process, maybe enable the voicemail, or maybe get forwarded to a specific out of hours number, for example. So it allows you to set up really as much as a virtual phone system requires on each of the numbers that you are using. And then we can also set access permissions. So obviously there's a lot of settings here that you are changing in the system. So it's important that you set permissions for who is able to configure these settings. So in the telephony module, there is a permissions area. So we can decide based on the role of the user, what level of access they have. So you might say, for example, here in the administrator role, they have full access to update telephony settings, but for other roles, maybe your agents, you would deny access. So you have that control on the telephony module as well. Okay, and we've seen there then the virtual phone system, and what this does is it connects directly with your Bitrix24 CRM system. So if we go into our CRM, if a client was to call and their details are saved in the system, it would show up as a pop-up display that uses details. So if Mark Moon called into the system, it displays a pop-up box with their details. And in Mark Moon's page, what we can see here, we have some call recordings. So once those calls, either inbound or outbound, are actually authorized, then what we can do is we can save the call. So using this, I can forward it to. Okay, so you can see those call recordings, you can play them back. You can see who is responsible from your team for managing that calls. And in any of these areas of the system, so it could be even in deals, for example, we can go into the deal pages. If you're making calls inside the deal page, so you can just simply click to call. Then that call can also be recorded directly in the page here. So you have that full history in the system. And you can also schedule call activity. So you can manually schedule activity, but you can be sent reminders for when you're supposed to have those calls in the system. So that's there as an individual contact. What we can also do is you can create call lists. So very useful for call centers. What you can do in here, for example, in the lead database, I might want to select a group of leads in the system, or maybe I want to filter, maybe based on all of the leads of certain stages, for example. So I can then select those leads. And what I could then do is I might first of all select and create a call list. So that group of people are going to be created into a call list. And I can then save that in the system here. And I can then make a certain person responsible for managing that call list, and I can add that into their diary to complete. So we can add call lists directly into the system, or if I wanted to, I could even just start calling directly so. So from here, I can now start calling through the system and answer all of those calls to understand what their requirements are. So there's lots of really useful features once you have integrated your telephony system. One other feature within the CRM in leads and deals is we have automation rules. So what feature you could also use and benefit from is actually sending out a robocall. So how this works is as you progress your lead through those customized stages through your lead process or through your deal process when you're closing a sale, at a particular step, we can have an automation rule take place. So inside here, you can automatically, immediately send out this robocall, or you might say, for example, in 1 or 2 days, you might want this call to take place. And this is a robocall. So what you do in here is you can add your text, and this can be dynamically populated with their details. Okay, so that is the text I'm adding, and this would then go automatically. Say, for example, if we did this at the looking good stage, once the lead hits the looking good stage, in 2 days' time, we're going to send this out as a call to the customer. And this message, once they answer the phone call, would get relayed to the customer. So again, we can choose the language, the speed, the volume that this message gets relayed, or you can upload an audio file. And as I say, you can completely customize how quickly this automation takes place. So you could run it immediately, for example. So that's really useful. It's almost like a call to action. As soon as they hit their certain step in your sales process, you can fire out this call to them. And you can also use this feature within the marketing module. So in the marketing module, we have the voice broadcasting and audio calls. It's exactly the same feature. The difference is, as we've seen here, you can add your text into this particular voice broadcast, and an audio call is where you upload the message. And what you can do in the marketing module is you can select the group of contacts that you want to send this to, or you can create specific segments. So within the marketing module, this will feed in all of the custom fields that you have. So if you wanted to send this out to a specific group and segment of your CRM database, then you can do that through the marketing module. Okay, so let's just see if we do have any questions. Okay, yeah. Can I rent more than one number at the same time? Yes, absolutely. So you can rent as many numbers through Bitrix24 as you like. So you might have maybe a number for support, maybe one for sales, for example. Then you can set up the IVR menu if you want to, so you can route calls. But yeah, there's no limit to the number of rented numbers that you can have in the Bitrix24 system. Okay, if there are any other questions, please do add them into the question box and we'll go through those before the end of today's webinar. Okay, so that's a look there at the Bitrix24 telephony feature where you can rent a Bitrix24 number. Now, the other way is to integrate with an existing phone provider. And the reason you may want to do this is because you may have a small team that are in the CRM system. So it makes sense that they continue using their existing phone system, for example. Or maybe it could be that your phone provider has very specific features. So you may want to integrate to get the CRM benefits, but then continue to use the specific features that your existing phone provider has. Or maybe you've negotiated a really good call rates package with your existing phone provider and you don't want to lose that. So you want to continue with that billing arrangement. So you want to integrate the number into Bitrix24. And there's a few different ways we can integrate into Bitrix24 your existing numbers. Okay, so going back into the telephony module, the first way we can integrate is using what we call the SIP connector. So if your phone provider has SIP trunks for you, what we can do is use the Office PBX or the Cloud PBX to integrate. So it's really important if you have an Office or a Cloud PBX, or if you can provide SIP trunks, you can keep your existing phone number and gain access to all the Bitrix24 telephony and CRM features by renting the SIP connector. So once you know if you have the Office or the Cloud PBX, what you can do is open up that button and this will feed you into the Office PBX page. So in the top right hand corner, you have the button to connect. So if you click on this button, it opens up a form where you input your Office PBX credentials, and it's exactly the same, just some slightly different information for the Cloud PBX. So once you've entered your details in here, you click Save. What you can then do is you can then test the connection. So all incoming calls are free, and outbound calls would be charged at the current rate that you have with your existing telephony provider. And this option is available worldwide. And what we have here is you have 60 minutes free to configure and test the outbound call feature on your SIP connector. So that's a really useful feature there. So you still have time to test the feature before you have to purchase the SIP connector. And the SIP connector will cost $49 per month, and that's for either the Office PBX or the Cloud PBX connector there. Okay, so that's one of the other options for integrations. Another option is actually using one of our applications. So Bitrix24 in the marketplace has 21 applications that integrate with phone providers. And you can see here a selection of those phone providers. So there's some very well-known, popular phone providers here, such as RingCentral, 3CX, Asterisk. So if you have a option here to actually use one of these providers, maybe you have an account with RingCentral, then you can actually try these applications. They are free to integrate into Bitrix, but you just need to make sure you have the correct plan with those phone providers. So as you can see here, for example, on the RingCentral plan, you need to have the premium or the enterprise RingCentral plan to be able to use this application. So it's really important to check with your phone provider. If they do have one of these apps in the Bitrix marketplace, then just check you do have the correct plan to be able to use this integration. But if you do, then those numbers will then automatically, once you've connected, feed into Bitrix24, and you can use that application instead of the SIP connector. Okay, so if neither of those features would work for you, then the other option is to use the Bitrix24 API. Okay, so if the integration isn't achievable, then what we can do is look to use the API to actually develop an integration with your phone provider system. Now, just as a word of warning, this could cost anywhere in the region of $15,000 to $25,000 to actually develop. So it is quite a substantial investment, but what we can do is if you are wanting to integrate telephony into Bitrix, you're not sure about what's the best option, we can talk through those options with you in a meeting. Okay, so that's the options for integrations. Okay, so questions come through here. How can we see call recordings? So one of the options, as we have mentioned, is directly inside the CRM system. So if I just go into one of our client pages, then what you can do is within the contact page, once a customer has had an inbound call or an outbound call, that call will be recorded in the customer's page. So in Mark Moon, one of our customers, we can see that call recording. You can see the date, who was responsible from our team, and you can play that call back. But if you want to see kind of the mass list of all of those call recordings, then back in the telephony module, we have the call details tab here at the top. And this is also an area where you can see and listen to all of those call recordings. So this will give you an overview of all of the calls that have taken place in your Bitrix24 system. And at the top, you've got a filtering tool. So you might want to filter maybe based on certain employees who were responsible for calls, maybe based on the call type as well, or the status. So you can drill down into all of those call details. And if the call's recorded, you would be able to see the recording here and play the recording. And you can also export this information out of Bitrix into Excel. So if you need to get this data out of the system, then you can using the export feature. And the next tab in this actual area here is the call statistics. So this is a really useful feature. So what this enables you to do is actually see graphical reports based on the calls that have taken place in your Bitrix24 system. So here, for example, we can see the call statistics. So we can see the call distribution here across all of our employees. So the number of inbound calls they've managed, the number of outbound calls, how many they've missed, etc. And you can see, as we saw there, we can create filters as well. So you might want to save different filters to quickly build those reports in the system. There are lots of different reports in here, so you might want to look at call density. I think this would be really useful for call centers. So you can see when is your busy period during each week or even down to each hour or day. So you can then see when you need to be scheduling staff in the system if there's going to be a lot of calls based on historic data. That's a really useful report to use there, the call density report. And you've also got employee performance. So you might want to look at the number of calls each employee is actually associated to. We could see how many calls they have been working on, maybe the average call length of their calls. So you might want to see actually who is actually speaking on the phone most often. So there's lots of different reports you can build and capture in the call statistics page. Okay, so moving on to the cost. So we've mentioned, and there are quite a few different areas for costs in telephony. So if you're going to rent a Bitrix24 number, then you're going to be looking at approximately $4 to $6 per month for the renting of the number. And included in that cost are all inbound calls, so they are free of charge, and outbound calls are charged per minute based on the country you are calling to. And I have added the call rates into our chat box on the GoToWebinar application, so you're able to access those call rates. We also have the cost if you actually want to integrate your own number and you're going to use the Bitrix24 SIP connector. That will cost $49 per month, and you can install as many numbers through that SIP connector as you like. Then the other option is the actual third-party applications. Those third-party applications, they are free. There is actually no cost for integrating those apps into the Bitrix24 system. So if we just go back into the marketplace here, you can see these are all free. But as I say, you need to make sure you have the relevant package with that phone provider to be able to actually use that application. Okay, so in summary today, we've looked at how we can use Bitrix24 as a virtual phone system. So we can configure the settings on each number that we use in the Bitrix24 system. We can also integrate existing phone numbers directly into the Bitrix24 platform. So if it's critical for you to keep your numbers, it is possible to feed those into the system. We've seen how this connects directly with the CRM system, and we can record those calls in the client's page. We've seen the different types of reports we can do, and some really powerful reports, so you can really start to schedule your staff if you're using this as a call center solution. And we have very low cost to set up. So renting of a Bitrix24 number can cost from $4 to $6. So it's a really low startup cost. So there is a low barrier to entry on the telephony setup. Here are a selection of the up and coming webinars that we have. So we're here at 11 AM Eastern Time every Tuesday. Next week, the webinar is Sell More with Sites. So if you're interested to see how you can build your own landing pages and sites using the Bitrix24 Sites module, then please do join us for that. In the meantime, if you do have any other questions before next week's webinar, please do email. Our details are here, sales@intraface.com, and we'll be happy to answer any questions that you have or set up a call with you to discuss your requirements in more detail. Thank you for your time today. I look forward to seeing you next week. Bye for now.